Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Bible study. Today it's titled The Lord's Rest. So we're going to start at Hebrews chapter 3 and verse 14, and we're going to go right through Hebrews chapter 4 and about verse 3. Okay, so let's start at verse 14. For we are made partakers of Christ if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast till the end. Now notice, there's a condition on being made a partaker of Christ. Okay, it's you're going to have to hold fast your confidence. Okay, straight until the end. Now, if you want to be a partaker of something, it would be really good to know what you're being a partaker of, because it says of Christ. Now, what I have found is there are times when they've translated something from the Greek, which was written in, to the English, where some of the translations is just askew, just a little bit off, So I looked this up just because I wanted to see what it said. I looked up the word Christ, and the Greek word is Christos, and it means the anointed, it means the Messiah, and it means an epithet of Jesus Christ. Okay? Now, we have to hold fast this confidence steadfast till the end. So what does that mean? It means when you get the desired end result. Okay? So, there are times like, I remember years ago when we first got into God, so to speak, and started going to church, and I went with a friend of mine to church, and we both, like, we're sitting there, and they gave an altar call, so we both went up front because we wanted to get prayed for. And I remember when we got in the car to come home, as we're driving home, he says, I didn't get nothing. I didn't get nothing. And I said, gee, that didn't last long. Yeah, are you sure? Yeah, I didn't get nothing. And that's not holding fast your confidence straight till the end. What that is that's just he went up hoping to get something, and he didn't see instant results, and so he just assumed he didn't get anything. But there's times when your answers to your prayers, they'll start incrementally, a little here, a little there, a little here, and then all of a sudden you look around and you've got the whole answer right there with you. But you don't get that if you don't hold your confidence steadfast till the end. Okay? There's times we have to study and believe it and receive it, like I said, incrementally, just a little at a time. Regardless of which way it comes, whether it comes, whether you get it instantly or whether you get it incrementally, just hold fast. Hold fast till the end, till you have it. Okay? Now, verse 15 says, while it is said today, if you will hear his voice, harden not your hearts, as in the provocation. In the wilderness, when the Israelites had been, they got out of Egypt and they were in the wilderness, it seems like they didn't believe anything God said, and they were fearful of him. And that came from many, many years of bondage. I don't even know how many it was, but it was over 100 years anyway of bondage. And apparently they did this to themselves. They allowed this to happen to themselves. And it says here, verse 16, for when some heard it, did provoke. Howbeit, not all that came out of Egypt by Moses. It wasn't everyone that sinned, but a huge amount of them provoked God with their hard hearts. Think about that for a second. He puts in the word. He says, don't provoke. Basically, he's saying, don't provoke God is what he's saying. Okay? It actually, when we don't believe God and what he says, it actually provokes him. Think about that for a minute. Now, not everyone that came out of Egypt provoked God, but a huge amount of them did, with their hard hearts. And he says, but with whom was he grieved 40 years? was it not with them that sinned, whose carcasses fell in the wilderness? You know, God can make a difference. He can make a difference from you sitting here and somebody else sitting right next to you. He can make a difference between the two of you. Now, with these guys, what happened was, like God said, here, I want you to go take the promised land. Go in there and take it. So what did they do? They sent 12 spies in because they wanted to know what they were dealing with. They go in there and they brought back like huge clusters of grapes and all kinds of stuff and said, man, yeah, the land is bountiful. It's beautiful over there. But then they said, we can't do it. There's giants in that place, and they were afraid of the giants. Now, they sent out 12 spies. Two of them, Joshua and Caleb, they both said, we can do it. We're well able to take it. We can do it. The other 10 said, no, we can't do it. And so what happened is those 10 died in the wilderness through the next 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. They died there. With Joshua and Caleb, God made a difference. And those two guys went into the promised land. And Caleb, he took the mountain. He did what he was supposed to. And Joshua ended up really leading the whole, all of Israel at that time. Okay? To whom sware he that they should, this is verse 18, to whom sware he that they should not enter into his rest, but to them that believed not. Now, entering into his rest, the way I see it, is to be convinced that the word of God is true, to stop your own efforts and let God take over, but still hanging on to the word and believing the word of God. Okay? And when our hearts are filled with the word of God, the end result that we are looking for comes much more quickly. Okay? Now, so it says, verse 19, so we see that they could not enter in because of unbelief. So it would seem in reading this that unbelief is so distasteful to God that it actually provokes him, and he actually calls it sin. Why? Because he is so pure, so holy, so righteous that he to lie never even crosses his mind, and it provokes him to, when we don't believe what he says. Okay, it's like indignation. It's like, who do you think you are? He says, I'm the God and creator of this entire universe, and you don't believe me? And here we are. He's however big he is, I don't know, but he's the creator of everything. He could be as big, I suppose, as he wants to be. And here we are, these little people over here, and we're saying we don't believe him. That's not a good place to be. Okay. Now he said in chapter 4, verse 1, he says, "Let us therefore fear, lest a promise left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it." So what is that rest he's talking about? I think it's the victory. Sometimes, though, we have to stand for it because it may not happen instantaneously or instantly. But what is the alternative? I mean, you're going to be here anyway. You might as well stand, and believe his word. And so that you're not just, set aside. Okay? When you believe him and his word, you get the victory. I'm not just talking about mental assent. Mental assent only lasts a little while and will fall apart during testing. A real faith, when it's a reality to you, will keep going until it accomplishes the goal. I remember, to give you an idea of real faith, I remember one time, now this is back in the early 1990s. I was doing this sales thing, and I stopped at a restaurant, and I was going to go inside and talk to the owner of the restaurant. And what happened was, at that time, I had something going on in my sinuses where all of a sudden my nose would start running. I'd be standing there talking, everything's fine. I didn't feel sick, nothing like that. But all of a sudden my nose would just, run. And it was embarrassing. And so I pulled up in front of this restaurant, and now to precede this, let me tell you this. I had a cassette player in the dashboard of my truck, AM, FM radio with a cassette player. That's what we had back then. And I would listen to the same tape over and over again. Sometimes I listened to those tapes 6 and 7 hours a day. And they were tapes about healing. And sometimes I've used some of those tapes about blood covenant and stuff. I've listened to them so many times that I wore them out. The tape broke, and I went and ordered another one. But what happened is, this time here, I had been doing that. I've been in my truck a lot. And I did a lot of listening to the Word of God as I was going. So I said this to the Lord. I said, could you please just stop my nose from running when I'm in there? And I heard this. I heard, if I can stop it temporarily, why don't I stop it permanently? And when I heard that, instantly, it was like there was revelation in my heart. Instantly, it was like I understood, and it was kind of like walking into a dark room and turning a light on where you can see everything. That's what the revelation was like. It's like I could see right through it. And I said to him, yeah. Well, why don't you stop it permanently, okay? And from that moment on, I never once had any kind of nose running, even until today. I don't think I've had 1 or 2 stuffy nose in all that time. Okay, so, hey, thank God. God stopped that. I give him all the thanks and all the praise for that, because he did it. Okay? Now, verse 2, for unto us was, now that, and that's what I'm talking about with belief. When you study the Word of God enough, you've spent enough time meditating on it. Instead of, I'm over here watching the news report. I'm over here watching TV. Instead of that, studying the Word of God so that it becomes a reality to you. It becomes real on the inside of you. And you've got revelation on it. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about belief. Okay, because when you believe like that, it doesn't take any time at all to be totally healed. But what happens is people get distracted, and they start watching everything else and doing everything else instead of studying the Word, which is where we need to be more than anything else. Okay? Now, verse 2 says, for unto us was the gospel preached as well as unto them, but the word did not profit them. How come? Why didn't it profit them? It was not being mixed with faith in them that heard it. Okay? Now, for we which do believe, or we which believe, do enter into rest. Okay? But now, like I said, it has to be a reality to you. It has to be a revelation to you. Not just going around and tipping our hat to God on Sunday morning and then forget he exists the rest of the week. I'm talking about being with him. I'm talking about studying his word and making that a priority in our lives. Okay? If you'll do that, you'll be amazed at how much better things will go for you. Okay? That's pretty much everything I have to say for today. I guess we'll see you next time. May God bless you and keep you. May he make his face to shine upon you, and may he give you his peace. God bless.